Hey, it's EG. Welcome to the audio version of the Be Yourself Marketing newsletter. And if you haven't checked out the podcast yet, there are real conversations with entrepreneurs just like you, and they're building on their own terms because your best marketing strategy is the one you were born with. Find it wherever you listen. Now, let's get into the newsletter. You're building roads that lead nowhere. I think I'm doing too many things. Most people believe this when their business starts feeling messy, and usually it's the reason they stay stuck. You're spinning your wheels, you're working hard, but not actually getting closer to anything you really want. It's not a too many things problem, it's more of an ending problem. So you're saying yes to work that leads somewhere you don't actually want to go. What's creating this mess is agreeing to help people trying to get to places you don't want to take them. So it feels like I can help with this, and this could turn into something bigger. So you say yes. To the client with the vague idea, to the project that sounds interesting, to the work that technically fits if you squint and tilt your head a little bit. Then a few weeks later, you get a stew simmering with too many mismatched ingredients. I've seen this happen, and I've done it myself more than once. You say yes to a few things that kind of fit. A month later, business looks like 5 different directions duct taped together. Nothing's broken, but nothing actually works together either. And now you're stuck managing work that you don't even want for clients you didn't mean to attract. It's the lie that we're sold. Focus is doing one thing. It's not. Because early on, you don't have enough signal yet to know what the one thing is. So instead of clarity, you get pressure. You start cutting things that might have worked or forcing yourself to stay in things that clearly don't. And now you're stuck with blinders on, not knowing what else is out there. Another lie we're sold. Consistency is repeating the same thing. No, because now consistency becomes make the same offer in the same way for the same type of person, even if it's not working. So instead of refining direction, you end up beating your head into the wall over and over. Consistency isn't supposed to lock you in. It's supposed to help you see what actually connects. Third lie. Clarity is cutting everything else. This is where people start amputating parts of their business way too early. You shut down services and you say no to things that might actually make sense just because they don't look the same. So instead of building clarity, you shrink your options before you even understand them. That's cutting your business off at the knees. And put all three together, cue the false guilt. Because now every time your work doesn't look perfectly clean and linear, you assume you're doing something wrong. So instead of asking, does this actually lead clients to where I want to take them? You start wondering, does this look focused enough? Here's the part most early stage entrepreneurs miss. It's not the variety that's the problem. It's the client's start and end points. The work can look different when you start and still lead to the same place. There are other speed bumps that quietly mess this up. And there's a few more patterns that make this even harder to see. For example, well, if I can help, I probably should. Capability instead of direction then becomes a decision maker. Just because you can does not mean you should. So you end up building a business around what you're able to do instead of what actually leads, again, to where you want to go. So what about, well, the client could turn into something bigger. Sometimes, rarely, that is true. Usually, though, it's a story you tell yourself just to justify misalignment. You're not saying yes to what it is. You're saying yes to what you hope it becomes. Another one is, well, it's all kind of related. This one is probably the most dangerous because technically a lot of things are related, but related does not mean connected, and it definitely doesn't mean it leads to the same outcome. So you can fix all this by deciding better, and that starts with understanding where is all of this actually supposed to lead. Now, here's where you get your kicks on Route 66. Think of your business like a highway, like Route 66 in the US that runs coast to coast. It's your client's journey that you create, which leads to their desired results. Every client each project, and all the services you offer, they can be an on-ramp onto that highway. The client came convinced that they had a focus problem. When we mapped it all, their work and their projects, none of their projects actually led to the same outcome. They didn't need to do less per se. They just needed to stop saying yes to the things that ended up somewhere else or nowhere. Then I spoke with the ghostwriting client with the exact same concern, but this time the difference was clear. The end goals were all the same, a finished book. But their clients don't all start up in the same place either. One person says, I have an idea. Another says, I've got a podcast or a blog we could turn into something. And another one says, well, I already have 2 chapters written. I think I just need someone to edit it. Now, these are all 3 completely different starting points, and some journeys are obviously going to be a lot longer or shorter because of that, but they all lead to the same place, that finished book. Everything else is just an on-ramp to get to that end point. So no, the work doesn't have to look exactly the same to be aligned. Different doesn't automatically mean disconnected, but not everything belongs on your highway either. So there's a pivot. Not every project is an on-ramp. For the others, yeah, they technically could, but they're so far off that saying yes has you bushwhacking through barely drivable roads. They require extra turns, extra rolls, extra energy that has nothing to do with where you want to go. So there's a filter that you need to apply. Here's the question that clears this up fast. If I say yes to this, can I clearly see how many steps it takes to lead to my core outcome? Not eventually, not maybe if it works out, clearly. How many steps? Without breaking a leg doing mental gymnastics. Because if it requires multiple pivots, unrelated work, or becoming something else entirely, then it's not aligned. And every time you say yes to that, you're trading time you could have spent building the right thing. So if you have to squint, scratch, and tilt your head to the side, just so that it looks like it fits, it's probably not an on-ramp. So you're too far from the highway. Some clients aren't wrong. They're just too early, too unclear, or too far removed from where you do your best work. And that's the trap, because you can help them, but helping them means leaving your highway. It means walking them through steps that you don't actually want to own. It means building something that doesn't naturally lead to your end result. And you don't have to walk someone from the desert just to get them to your road. Now, what it feels like, you're all over the place. It might be, I say yes to things that don't lead to the same place, or it might be, I haven't decided how far back I'm willing to go. So the real decision you have to make isn't, you don't just define what you do, you define where you meet people on their journey. I help once you have X. I don't help at the idea stage, or maybe come back when you're here. That's where clarity comes from, not by shrinking what you do, but by being precise about where it starts and the options that your clients have. So here's a quick check. Look at what you're working on right now. Which clients or projects clearly lead to your end result outcome? Only the kind that connect, or don't connect at all. Chances are you don't need to simplify your business. You just need to stop building roads that go nowhere. Because every time you say yes to the wrong one, you're making the path harder to see. Make it a great roadworthy week.